The role of the press in over-promoting this regime is in contrast to the way they reported other English cricket teams. Writing a book called The Bazball Revolution before England played a test series against India or Australia, letting Baz and Key come out with superficial and vacuous statements without properly checking or scrutinising them, and also, in a more sinister way, repackaging and reimagining results in order to brush over failures, such as defeats in India and Pakistan, and failures to win series that they really should have done. The home series against Australia and India. Sky were quite taken by things like Crawley hitting a 4 off the first ball of the 2023 Ashes series, to the extent they lost sight of the normal ebbs and flows of the game and overemphasised something trivial. The Sky commentary team are to Bazball what the Bobby Soxers were to Frank Sinatra. The client press are even attempting to repackage the recent Ashes defeat as a victory because of the victory in the fourth test, which was a consolation dead rubber victory. Also in 2024, Wisden named 5 England players in their team of the year. That was a year where England were mid-table, maybe 5th, I think, out of 9, having lost 4-1 in India and 2-1 in Pakistan. It would be unlikely that the Premier League would have 5 Everton players in it after finishing mid-table. So it is very odd. Now, the problem with the press at large, the press are really drawn from a very small pool. They've moved from being a privately educated, middle-class, small C conservative types to privately educated, middle-class, centre-left bourgeois types. They even look the same. How many people who work for Wisden, the BBC or Sky are from council estates? If you look at the X page of most of cricket commentators, it's quite obvious what their political views are. And the question might well be, could a working class right-wing person get a job in the press now? But probably not. So why does this matter? It just matters because rather than being a group of people simply reporting on what they're seeing, they are interpreting and repackaging what they see through their own prism. We don't really need a conduit to understand cricket. The average cricket fan is smart enough to understand the difference between the urine and honeysuckle. If it's clear that the cricket journalist has moved away from being a cricket journalist to an unofficial spokesman for the ECB, then people will probably stop watching, listening, or reading. The press's uncritical and supine approach to Baz is supplemented by their uncritical and supine approach to the 100. The 100 has ruined the English summer, detrimentally affected the English national side, the domestic game, and possibly leading to the extinction of smaller counties. And apart from everything else, is a really god-awful product. Probably a cross between, I don't know if anyone remembers Pat Sharp's Funhouse and Naked Attraction. Despite all of this, the English press promote it like it's the best thing since sliced bread, despite the vast majority of fans being opposed to it. The client press still push it. I remember them watching a Wisdom podcast where they were having a go or laughing at the Abu Dhabi T10s. This was after spending a month seriously analysing the 100. They did so unironically. If you can't see the fact that both these franchise leagues are as pointless as each other, you have successfully transitioned into a client journalist. It's also worth noting that Sky were very critical of the proposed Super League in football. But even though there are similarities, are kind of very supportive of the 100. The reason is that they weren't going to show the Super League, but they do show the 100. Why is the 100 useless? One, I mean, franchise leagues are bad anyway. They're kind of like a dystopian future, a bit like a WWE or a game show. By the IPL, no one gives a monkeys about the results or remembers anything about the games, other than seeing some fireworks or, paying a lot of money to get drink in the stadium. The 100's even worse than a normal franchise league because it's not even a T20 tournament, but a peculiar 100-ball tournament. And that's neither fish nor fowl. It's not an entertainment and it's not a sport. There are no global 100 tournaments, so it hinders rather than helps the national side. And it does seem that the ECB regretted not kind of copywriting the T20 format they introduced 20 odd years ago. When they saw the success of the IPL, I think they thought they missed a trick. And this time they tried to introduce something with a unique selling point. The only problem is no one would copy it because it's such a useless invention. It would be like kind of patenting one of Reginald Perrin's inventions. If results in sport don't matter, well, why would you watch it? If a sport becomes an entertainment, then it must be compared to other entertainments. So if you take the 100, a mercenary, a kind of South African who plays for Holland, trundles in to bowl to a mercenary South African who plays for Namibia, and slices the ball for 2 in front of a crowd of 8-year-olds eating crisps. That's not really as entertaining as The Godfather or The Wire. And what the ECB took from the IPL was everything but the cricket. In the IPL, cricket is still of a high quality despite the razzmatazz. The English press and the 100. The English press know full well what a low-grade, poor excuse for a competition it is, and they know the damage it does. They know the damage it does to the English summer and the saturated domestic fixture list. So why do they promote it? The press in the main back it for the simple reason that they're client journalists and that promoting these forms of cricket are in their interest. There's a very convenient line sometimes that, well, it's happened now, so we've got to get on with it. It's very interesting if those journalists think the same way about Trump's victory or Brexit. It's happened now, we won't talk about it again or post anything on X about it. They don't. There's also the patronising line that it's not for you. This is a very convenient line, but it's really used to kind of cover up the fact that they have taken a large part of the English summer. And so it is in our interest to talk about it because it's our game that they've taken from us. So the reality is that the future of the smaller counties, the desecration of the English summer, and cricket's evolution from a sport to entertainment do pale into insignificance when it comes to journalists' own career paths. Now, what has this got to do with Bazball? Have I just got into some kind of tangent? Now, there's a correlation with both between the 100 and Bazball. They're both reliant on a postmodern interpretation or approach. They both represent a shift into kind of WWE territory, and both require a leap of faith or synthetic promotion by a willing media. They both underplay results in terms of entertainment, and both overestimate the entertainment they provide. They both act as a polemic rather than a process designed to take everyone with them, and both rely on fans whose primary sport isn't cricket. And together will both move cricket into an event where adults can go to drink and children can go to eat crisps, with the result entirely incidental. Both are heavily reliant on a new transitory fan and driven by the Sky and the BBC. The 100 taking the month of August means any domestic reforms required to improve our competitiveness are sabotaged by having that month taken out of commission. And given the fact the ECB has sold off the game to Indians and American businessmen, they cannot demand the reforms that we may well need. The 100 eating up more of the English summer, with Test and white ball internationals being sidelined. Now, to conclude, here are the definitive reasons why Bazball is a failure. 1. No series wins versus India or Australia. 2. Ignoring the World Test Championship, failing to qualify for the final despite the incentive of the final in home conditions. 3. A one-dimensional style of play that fails against good sides or conditions that aren't akin to a road. 4. Picking plays in spite of form or suitability, which creates a perception of favourites and means England are ill prepared against skillful and nuanced attacks, indulging players in a way that means that they don't improve or are only suited to limited situations. 4. Obsession with the away ashes at the expense of everything else, after all that they still end up losing it. 5. Postmodern language and media speak used to explain the way the odd decisions and poor performances, appearing arrogant and deluded, and entitled and creating hostility abroad, as well as with a section of fans at home. There's no evidence to back up any of the wild statements or to verify the gold regimes of saving Test cricket. 6. Baz's expansion into the job of white ball coach has been even more of a disaster, losing most ODI games, as well as a pathetic performance in the ICC Champions Trophy. Well, how do England turn things around? The first thing they must do is replace Key and install a sporting director that is a cricket man primarily and not a media man, a man that knows cricket and is only concerned with substance. On top of his incompetence, Key is back to adopting a kind of civil faulty approach he took in the aftermath of the 2023 World Cup, looking to acknowledge journalist criticisms without accepting any responsibility for them. Someone like Alex Stewart would be an ideal replacement. He's done a similar job at Surrey with a lot of success. Once this is done, they can replace Baz with a coach who has a proven track record and who is happy to be judged on results such as big series wins, the World Test Championships, the World Cup, and possibly the Olympics. Langer, Kirsten, and Ponting would all be decent appointments. Ben Stokes, the player, is one of the all-time great English sportsmen, let alone cricketers. He's up there with the likes of Bobby Charlton, Bobby Moore, Johnny Wilkinson, Ian Botham, Fred Perry, Rocket Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Phil the Power Taylor. As a player, he's nuanced, he's intelligent, he's a street fighter, and he's a reliable finisher, comparable in some respects to Steve Waugh. As a captain, however, his natural cricketing instincts are diluted by an unsophisticated, one-dimensional, and overly simplified ideology, a kind of cricketing equivalent to gesture politics. His ridiculous declarations in 23 cost us home series against New Zealand and a home Ashes, and his bullish approach to selection has also harmed England. Crawley is not a world-class test opener, no matter how many times you stick your fingers in your ears. No one stands out as a replacement. Pope isn't a very good captain, and Brooke needs to dial down the sense of entitlement. I'd leave the selection of captain to the new sporting director and coach. There isn't much they can do in terms of domestic reforms due to the fact they sold off much of the domestic game and the month of August to salt-based franchises. Ideally, they'll play cricket in the summer, not in the cold and the wet. Most county cricket fans will nod sagely, having had to watch a lot of cricket in April and September. This was made worse by Key's introduction of the Kookaburra ball, leading average batters to make more runs, which according to Key was better than average bowlers getting more wickets. For the long-term good of the game, it would be nice if cricket was back on free-to-air television. The ECB squandered the opportunities brought about by one of the great test series in 2005 by putting the game behind a paywall. The claim from many who support the 100, usually those that benefit from it, statisticians, pundits, presenters, podcasters, is that they want to expand the game beyond a narrow group of people. Putting cricket on Test cricket on free-to-air television would do that. In the case of the 100, really the aim is that they just want to make money from it and make hapless parents shell out for garish kits and expensive food in the stadium. They could also have more cricket in state schools, although I think this is less important than free-to-air television, because if kids get that cricket bug, they'll go out and play in the park or the street or wherever. It would also be nice to bring the costs of replica shirts down. My advice to any teenager is not to fork out for a replica shirt, but instead to buy some nice clothes for less money. Your classmates aren't really going to be any more attracted to you if you walk around with a shirt with the hula hoops written on it. Cricket journalism must change. We cannot continue to have this chasm between journalists and the people watching it. It might be helpful if magazines, podcasts or publications, TV stations with a natural bias towards or de facto spokesman for the ECB are more open about it. I'm not suggesting there's anything untoward, but merely that it's in their interest to promote the product in the same manner as stations promote a TV show to increase their ratings. The only problem is that sport isn't like another entertainment. There's a problem with a journalist or pundit trying to be a conduit between you and what you see. It's also clear they're taking a particular stance and insults the intelligence of the audience. My solution is that all pro-ECB propaganda should come from the official ECB website and official ECB sources. Journalists must give a genuine account of what's actually happening and should not just be pro-Bazball and pro-100 for the sakes of their career. This is easier said than done, and maybe an alternative idea, there might be a more practical one. A note like a community notice on or the parental advisory stickers that used to be attached to Prince albums, which would at least give some way for the audience to be informed. It's not really an eyewitness account, but people swapping rigorous journalist scrutiny for access to players and stories. There could be a clear distinction between client journalists and conventional cricket reporters. If that's made clearer, things would be much better.